Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I am Brad. Today we're talking about the Utah Mammoth, their first playoff series as a team, as a franchise, which is very exciting. Versus the Vegas Golden Knights, an expansion team. So you have a new versus a newisher team. And so looking at that, it's probably going to be Carter Hart against Karel Vejmelka. And when you're looking at the teams, we're going to focus on Vegas, or not Vegas. We're going to focus on YouTube. We're going to focus on Utah. Goodness gracious! Sorry, this is my fourth video in a row. So, but either way. Video or podcast, however you're taking this in, hit like, subscribe, 5 stars. It helps immensely. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So when it comes to some of these players, you're looking at like how are they performing? What's happening with these the team. Clayton Keller, by the way, he's got 2 more years left. The next year and the year after, this guy's gonna get paid. He's got 88 points in 82 games. This is captain material kind of guy, you know. Nick Schmaltz, 74 points in 82 games. Lawson Krause starting to look okay, half point per game player. So there's some, again, your top line's looking pretty good. When you're looking at almost point per game players in the top line, this is a solid group. They're in their prime, 27, 30 years old. And so what do you want to see from a team like this? Like, well, they're a little newer, no playoff experience. A lot of these guys came from the Arizona Coyotes as well, mind you. So you got to look at who's going to be what guys stepping up. Well, it's going to be a lot of the youth. Again, you have some guys in their prime, like said on the top line. When you look at your second line, you've got like Dylan Guenther, who signed this. He's in the first year of his massive deal. 73 points in 79 games, just 23 years old. Phenomenal pickup. So jealous that they got this guy. Logan Cooley had an injury, 43 points though in 54 games. Signed a huge contract. I think it's an 8-year contract, I believe, because I know Guenther just signed for like 7.1 last year. Yeah, Logan Cooley's making $10 million like next year. The next 8 years, he's going to do all right. So, and then you have Kyler Yamamoto, which is surprising to me. He's still going. I know remember him being traded to the Red Wings at one point and being bought out, which is, I mean, it's crazy to me that he's been bouncing around. He Edmonton Oilers, Seattle Kraken. I mean, I'm glad he's finding a role. And he's finding a spot in the league. And he's only 27 years old, so there's still potential there. You know, and then you also have JJ Peterka. That was one of their big acquisitions on the offseason. They traded out Josh Doan and Kesselring for that. And actually going over the trades before we jump to the defense as well, kind of talking about what they did this offseason. I mean, they moved out Michelli. Again, they moved out Kesselring and Doan and got JJ Peterka. Again, still looking like a great player. Ingram. And the biggest one they did to really secure their defense core is they picked up a 32-year-old Mackenzie Weegar. He's got this year and 4 more years after this left on this deal. And they moved out Oli Mata, which is a great defenseman. I'm surprised they did that. Jonathan Castagna, a draft pick or a prospect. And they did not move out a first-round pick. They moved out 3 second-round picks, all in 2026. So just showed you the asset management that the Utah Mammoth were able to do with Edmonton or Arizona Coyotes as well. They had so many picks available that they were able to move all these and not move a first round pick, which is incredibly impressive. So again, good for them. That is a good pickup. You're able to get a star like Mackenzie Weegar, older, but like he's still really worth it. He's going to be there for a long time, similar to the way they did with Sergachev. Moved out some players for Sergachev, and again now you have a staple on the blue line for them. So Mackenzie Weegar, since coming here, by the way, finishing out the 4 group, you have like a Michael Carconi, you have Kerfoot. Like there's some guys in the some tough guys, like a Brandon Tanev, like a Stenlin and a Liam O'Brien. These guys can really hit. They're hard hitters. So they're not the biggest guys necessarily. I mean, Stenlin is, but listen to this. Stenlin is 6'4", and Liam O'Brien is 6'1", and they both weigh 214 pounds. So it shows you like some big guys here, okay? And so moving on to the D, you have Mikhail Sergachev, you have a Mackenzie Weegar now. Sergachev, 59 points, 78 games. Weegar, only 7 points in 19 games, but you're not going to rely on him too much as a power play specialist. Again, even Calgary had 21 points in 60 games. So he's just, again, and looking at his career, he did have 52 points back in like the 23-24 season, which is a good amount of points. And they're like a huge, I mean, he's a good half-point game player. So hopefully he continues to improve. But again, it's a huge move, moving your family, moving everything, especially you've only been there a month as well. So you also have Nate Schmidt. You have John Marino, who's 36 points in 80 games, playing a good. I mean, what's crazy is to me, I thought John Marino would have more power play time. He doesn't. Has a lot of penalty kill time. Mostly power play is Sergachev and Uyghur. So, of course, you have Ian Cole, Sean Dursey as well, 27 points, 23 points. So defense is looking pretty solid. Again, in the sense of points as well, which I'm pretty impressed with, to be honest. So we'll see how this ends up working out. Nate Schmidt and Ian Cole a little bit older. So how do they replace those next year? Do they bring them back? Oh, actually, Nate Schmidt has 2 more years left. Never mind. So moving on to the goaltending, of course, Karel Vejmelka plays 64 games this season. Vanacek did 22. I mean, they're going to start Vejmelka. His save percentage is a little down, 897, which is a little below average, and a 275 goals against. He did save 3 goals above expected. So, he's doing better than he saved 3 more goals than expected. That's the stat really. And so the ones that he let in, he should have, but there's 3 that he didn't let in. So that's good. That should have been goals. But this team is young. It's really exciting because they have some guys like Daniel Boot, who's going to come up and play a huge role on the wing. There's some that you have Dmitry Simashev as well on the blue line. There's some good guys coming up in this team. So we'll see how this works out. Again, it's a young team. It's their first time being in the playoffs. It'll be a great experience for them to show them what it takes and the caliber of competition it takes. So do you bet on youth in this case? I'd say it's more youth, and I'd say these guys are like treadmills. It's youth and treadmills. And what I mean by that is some of these guys have been running on treadmills. They've been playing the regular season, similar to you see with Buffalo. Buffalo they were treadmill runners. They were running and running and running and running. And now these guys are getting the playoffs. And it's like, okay, you're off the treadmill. You've been training. What does this look like? What can you do now? How can you produce? And so now we're going to see how they produce in the playoffs. And again, they have a little bit of youth there as well, which is very exciting. Moving on to the Vegas Golden Knights. You have the big acquisition they did, of course, was a Mitch Marner. They tried to play him at center. That was moronic. Play the winger at wing. That was the big one, a great value for Nicholas Waugh as well. And they signed him to an 8-year deal. In January, instead of the trade deadline, they pulled the plug with the Calgary Flames, and they traded for Rasmus Andersson, which, by the way, is a crazy risk because he still hasn't signed a contract yet. And so you trade for this UFA who will be 30 years old in October. So at the start of next season, he'll be 30 years old. You trade away a prospect, a first round pick, a second round pick, and White Cloud, one of your original guys who won the Stanley Cup with you. So you're like, oh goodness gracious. Like, it's a little terrifying, right? Actually looking at White Cloud D. Yeah, they won the Stanley Cup in 1920. Yeah, pretty sure. Anyways, either way, White Cloud was a good defensive defenseman. And Rasmus Andersson hasn't really performed that great. He's actually has numbers per game are lower than he was with Calgary, and Calgary is clearly a worse team. So, and you're like, I mean, you can't even sign this guy yet. Like, he could go to free agency. Like, what do you do? Supposedly, Rasmus Andersson wanted to go to Vegas for a long time. So, he wanted this trade to happen, and so you're like, okay, dude, sign everything. So I'm a little worried for them. So we will see. But I think even if we'll see. Again, I hope for them, but there's no guarantee. Who else did they pick up? They also picked up Cole Smith from the Predators, and they also picked up Nick Dowd, which I thought was a smart pickup because they got him from this year and next year from the Washington Capitals for a second and third round pick. So that secures their a little bit more depth, right? And looking at their team, I mean, clearly you have some just great grade A players. Mitch Marner, it's a new location, new system, his second coach since he's been there, because they fired their coach and they went with John Tortorella for the last 8 games. So Mitch Marner, 80 points in 81 games. Jack Eichel, 90 points in 74 games. Crazy. Mark Stone, 73 points in 60 games. He's injured, and he sets a career high in points. Phenomenal. Crazy phenomenal. Of course, you have Barbashev and Pavel Dorofeyev. I mean, Dorofeyev is going to make so much money this offseason. I'm so excited for him. And then you have Brett Howden, center depth's little. So that's the issues. My biggest issues right now is that their center depth is not the best when it comes to Vegas. You go from a 90-point in Jack Eichel to a 22 points in Brett Howden. I mean, you have Hurdle at 58 points in 82 games, but I don't know how much if he's playing a lot of second-line center, and there's also some injury history there as well. So we'll see. It looks like he got a lot of time on the power play one, so that could be where he's getting a lot of his points. Still, power play points still count as points, and they still count in the regular season as well as the playoffs. Keegan Kolesar, Riley Smith, those are cool as well. More like nice stories and everything. Of course, Brandon Saad. But your big hits were, you didn't replace Alex Pietrangelo. You lost your William Karlsson. So there's one of your centers right there again for the whole season. So he would have been really filling in that center depth. That's why they picked up Nick Dowd as well. I'm curious. So we'll see how it ends up, how it works out rest of the season for this. But I think the talent drops off pretty quickly when it comes to outside the first two lines. But again, it's Vegas, similar mentality. Guys taking less money to be able to stay here, and they're able to perform because they've won the Stanley Cup. They've done well in the playoffs before. I think last year was the last year they missed the playoffs. I think it was. Either way, it's a good team. So moving on to the defense core. Again, you didn't replace a Pietrangelo. You did get, like I said, Rasmus Anderson, but really he's not performing at the rate that you would like to see him. Shea Theodore is performing 39 points, 70 games. Noah Hanifin, that was a great trade last year, 28 points in 71 games. Again, another Calgary defenseman. But to me, this defense core doesn't scream elite by any means. Again, the Theodore is really good, but Hanifin and Rasmus Anderson played together in Calgary. It just hasn't been working out the same in Vegas. And you need to see more of this. And so I'm not entirely impressed with the Vegas Golden Knights when it comes to this. There's some stats I'll go over that I'm a little more impressed on, but overall, like, they find these pieces that work together. Like, that's what they called originally. They were called them the Misfits. And that's why they went to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year. Especially when it comes to goaltender, and you have Aiden Hill, who's in the start of he's in the first year of that big contract. Just did not have a good year. Carter Hart, also not a good year, save percentage or goals against wise. Akira Schmid, the best of the three, still not great. There's not much you can rely on in this case. There's no real prospects coming up or anything either. So you're like, okay, guys, what's gonna happen? You're like, you're trying to find the bright spots here. And no real prospects. The prospect pool is empty. Holy, I didn't realize how empty it was. Jesus, they really move out everybody. They have one second round pick they picked last year. That's like, and he only has 2 points in 17 games. Oh, they got a guy in the QMJHL, third round pick. He's got 78 points, 62 games, but it's the Q. Scoring is really high there. Anywho, so moving on again, I'm not impressed with this team. It's just not it's not the Vegas of what I know. And you lose William Karlsson, and you're like, it feels like the team's just not that, which is crazy. Like, you expect to see more moves. I guess maybe I'm not enamored because I guess we're seeing less production out of Mitch Marner, and we're not seeing the great production out of Rasmus Anderson, who is not signed. So maybe it's just a little bit of like, oh man, like a little shaky ground when it comes to the team. So we'll see what they can do. Going over some of the stats and doing some comparisons. Vegas is 6th when it comes to power play. Utah is 18th. But again, Vegas can't rely on that because power plays dry up power plays and penalties get dried up in the playoffs because, I mean, the refs don't want to dictate the game. But if Vegas does get on the penalty, they have to kill a penalty. They're 7th in the league, and Utah is 17th. So when it comes to special teams, Vegas definitely leads on that side. But again, it's hard to rely on those to win a game, especially in the third period where they called practically nothing. If Utah has a lead, Vegas can't rely on those special teams. Save percentages, both are terrible. Utah was in 20th. Vegas was 27th. That's bad. When it comes to goals against, like when they're scoring, Utah was 4th in the league, or 11th in the league. Vegas was 12th. Very comparable. Vegas shoots more. They were 8th in the league. Utah was 20th. Good comparison here. Shots against, good at blocking shots and keeping shots limited. The Vegas Golden Knights were 2nd and the Utah was 6th. So again, both good at like blocking shots and keeping the shots count low. This is the ones that I like to emphasize the most when it comes to teams. Again, I'm more impressed with the Utah. I think it's really exciting. They have a high upside. So when you're looking at the shots on goal 5-on-5, so your 5-on-5 goals, Utah was 5th in the league. Vegas was 12th. So Utah beats them, and that's where you're going to rely on the goals that when there's a full team out there, you have to score. You have to be able to score on a 5-on-5. Again, you can't rely on your special teams. And when it comes to stopping against, they're like goals against on 5-on-5. Vegas is 19th, Utah was 17th. So it's very similar. So like they're both teams letting the same number of goals in on 5-on-5, but Vegas or Utah scoring a little more on 5-on-5. Like that's where I get the edge. That's where I'm leaning in this case. Just to let you know, I'm going Utah. Games, let's go 6. 6 feels comfortable. We'll go 6. Utah, I think it's just because you can't rely on Vegas's goaltending. Like you don't know who you're gonna run. And to me, I got Vegas. Let's go 6 or Utah and 6. Let's go with the youth. I think it's really exciting. Will they make it out of the second round? Maybe not. But I think they can make themselves get out of the first round in this case. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.